Now I'm going to preview the 4 seed Alabama versus the 6 seed Clemson men's basketball game, which is an Elite Eight game, which will be played tomorrow at 7:49 p.m. Central Time on TBS. And people are going to ask, why not do UConn and Illinois as a 1-3 matchup? I just think UConn game will not be as good as people think, and this one is more intriguing to me. Both teams are coming off of upset wins, and Alabama is currently favored by 3.5 anyway, so that feels more of a close game, so to speak. And both teams actually had the identical records anyway, 24-11. But Alabama's 13-5 in the SEC, and Clemson's 11-9 in the ACC. So, what are some players to keep on for both these teams? I'm going to start with the Alabama side of things first, and I will not include season-ending injury players in all this. So, that way you don't have to think about those particular guys. I just know on Alabama's side of things, and I apologize for looking down because I cannot memorize all this stuff. Wrightsell he's questionable with a head injury, and Cosby out indefinitely with the foot. But let me check it. Wrightsell even played for Alabama last game first. Yeah, he didn't even play. He After that GCU Grand Canyon University game, he hasn't played. He didn't play last night. So, but I'm still gonna go over his numbers just in case he gets cleared to play. That's the only guy that's questionable. Cosby is out indefinitely. So now I'm not going to mention the height or the weight or the position, but I will go over the numbers still. And Mark Sears is the first guy. 21.4 points per game, 4.2 rebounds per game, 4.1 assists per game, 1.7 steals per game, 1.9 fouls per game, 2.5 turnovers per game, 42.9% on threes on 198 attempts, 85.9% on free throws on 227 attempts. And just this is also to make it faster instead of saying the whole thing. Aaron Strada is the next guy. 13.5 points per game, 5.4 rebounds per game, 4.7 assists per game, 2.3 turnovers per game, 1.7 steals per game, 2 fouls per game, 30.7% on threes on 150 attempts, 85.5% on free throws on 55 attempts. Then Grant Nelson, 11.8 points per game, 5.6 rebounds per game, 1.3 turnovers per game, 1.6 blocks per game, 0.7 steals per game, 3.1 fouls per game, 27.9% on threes on 104 attempts, 80.9% on free throws on 141 attempts. Then Riley Griffin is the next guy to keep an eye on for Alabama. 11.2 points per game, 3.4 rebounds per game, 1.4 turnovers per game, 2.1 fouls per game, 38.8% on threes on 178 attempts, 82.1% on free throws on 78 attempts. And I'm going to mention Latrell Wrightsell Jr. just in case he does play, but don't be shocked if he doesn't, because he did not play last game. 9 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, 1.1 steals per game, 2 fouls per game, 0.6 turnovers per game, 44.3% on threes on 149 attempts, made all 27 free throws. And that's up to this point. And then I'm going to go over like Nick Pringle. 6.7 points per game, 5.1 rebounds per game, 0.7 blocks per game, 1 turnover per game, 2.6 fouls per game, 53.8% on on free throws on 93 attempts though. So that's a guy that you could hack a Shaq if you have to. Okay, Sam Walters, 5.7 points per game, 2.5 rebounds per game, 1.5 fouls per game, 39.8% on threes on 98 attempts. Not bad for a big guy that's 6'10" and 82.5% on free throws on 40 attempts. Okay, Jaren Stevenson is the next guy. 5 points per game, 2.7 rebounds per game, 1 turnover per game, 1.8 fouls per game, 29% on threes on 93 attempts, 68.9% on free throws on 45 attempts. Like I said, I'm not going to mention Cosby, but I'm going to go over Muhammad Wague, Wague. I apologize if I butchered that. 3.2 points per game, 2.5 rebounds per game, 0.6 steals per game, 2.2 fouls per game, 0.8 turnovers per game, 1 for 2 on threes, 75% on free throws, but that's on 36 attempts. And the last guy I'm going to mention is Muhammad Diabate. Dioubate. I apologize if I butchered that. 3.1 points per game, 2.5 rebounds per game, 1.2 fouls per game, 1 for 11 on threes, which is 9.1%, 47.1% on free throws, but that's on 51 attempts. So that's obvious on their rotation, and they're deep, as you could tell if you include right cell in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, that's up to potentially 10 guys, but either way, 9 guys deep, that's pretty good. Now, I know for the Clemson side of things, the best player is PJ Hall. And I only know that because I actually did a Baylor preview on that game back in the round of 32 when I went over that. 18.4 points per game, 6.5 rebounds per game. .5 blocks per game, 0.8 steals per game, 3.1 fouls per game, 1.8 turnovers per game, 31.7% on threes on 161 attempts, 78.8% on free throws on 160 attempts. Now, Joseph Girard III, he is the best three-point shooter on the team. I will say, like, one of the better ones. For sure. Especially at the guard position. 15 points per game, 3.3 rebounds per game, 2.9 assists per game. Okay. 0.6 steals per game, 1.6 fouls per game, 1.6 turnovers per game, 1.4 fouls per game. I apologize there. 41% on threes, but that's on 244 attempts. 93.5% on free throws on 123 attempts. And as Chase Hunter, and I already know the guys on Clemson are not going to play anyway. 12.9 points per game, 2.5 rebounds per game, 3.1 assists per game, 0.7 steals per game, 1.8 turns per game, 1.7 fouls per game, 31.7% on threes on 145 attempts, 84.8% on free throws on 112 attempts. Then is Ian Shefflin. .9 points per game, so near double-digit score there. 9.4 rebounds per game, 2.2 assists per game, 1.3 turnovers per game, 0.6 steals per game, 2.6 fouls per game, 48.9% on threes on 27 attempts. That's not a ton of attempts, but he can shoot it if he wants to. 75.3% on free throws on 85 attempts. Okay, RJ Godfrey is for sure the next player to keep an eye on for Clemson. 5.9 points per game, 3.4 rebounds per game, 0.6 blocks per game, 2.2 fouls per game, 0.9 turnovers per game, 3 for 7 on threes, but that's on 42.9%, 61.2% on free throws on 49 attempts. Then it's Chauncey Wiggins. 5.6 points per game, 2.2 rebounds per game, 0.7 turnovers per game, 1.3 fouls per game, 35.4% on threes on 82 attempts, 71.4% on free throws on 21 attempts. Okay. I want to go ahead and mention Jack Clark, even though he's only played in 24 games this year. 4.6 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, zero point 0.8 steals per game, 0.6 turnovers per game. I know there's okay. Now, for whatever reason, the ESPN app was not liking me to click on Jack Clark for whatever reason, but I don't need to go over those numbers again. Okay, 1.5 fouls per game, 29.4% on threes, but that's on 51 attempts, 83.3% on free throws on 24 attempts. So that's Jack Clark. Okay, now the next guy I'm going to mention is Josh Beadle. 3.1 points per game. I know he doesn't play a lot, but and he only played that like against New Mexico only, but still, just to cover my basis and all this, in case he does play for whatever reason, like foul trouble. 1 foul per game, 0.6 turnovers per game, 14.3% on threes on 21 attempts, 68.8% on free throws on 32 attempts. And the last guy I am going to mention for Clemson is Dylan Hunter, 2.4 points per game. 1.2 fouls per game. That's pretty much it on that. 26.5% on threes on 34 attempts, 42.1% on free throws, but that's on 19 attempts. So obviously across the board, you don't know about the officiating in this game. You got to adjust on the fly. You got to make adjustments, both offensively and defensively, not just from first half to second half, but like timeout to timeout or media break to media break, as well as like possession by possession. I mean, you gotta have to make some adjustments, and obviously you want to limit your foul trouble while getting the opponent in foul trouble, especially the best guys on the team. I just know for a fact that in that Baylor game, for PJ Hall to foul out and they still won the game, it just shows how much depth they had, and Baylor didn't shoot that good, and that's why Clemson got up to this point here, because when you look at the game last night, and I went over that Arizona loss to Clemson, Arizona did not shoot the ball good. And Baylor didn't shoot the ball good. New Mexico didn't shoot the ball good too. So you got to make the other team uncomfortable for both of these teams. and get them to shoot lower than their normal, and you got to force turnovers because sometimes your best offense comes from your defense. You got to get some points out turnovers, points in the paint, second chance points, transition points. While of course defensively you want to limit all those, and you don't want their opponent to live at the free throw line either. You don't want to do that. And when you get to the free throw line, you got to make them count. I mean, I'm just saying that for Alabama for sure because look at their percentage from last game. And Clemson to an extent, but that's only 5 misses out of 16 attempts, so I can't really criticize them there. And they shot pretty good on free throws against Baylor too. And I'm just telling the truth about it. You got out hustle the other team. You don't want to get a technical foul or a flagrant. So a flagrant 1 or flagrant 2. And that's the thing. You gotta stay poised. You gotta stay composed. You gotta play your game. And you gotta rebound the opponent. That's another thing. I mean, because sometimes that could be the difference in games. I mean, you get more shots up. But even if you get more shots up, you got to make them count. I mean, that's the thing. And especially against some rebounds on the defensive end. And you don't want to have if you're going to have a turnover, try to do it dead ball instead of live ball. I mean, that's the truth about it is. And you got to contain the shooters, contain the slashers. And it's going to be an interesting game here because I know Alabama's defense may not be the best. But they did something to North Carolina in that second half to only let them score 33 points. And I know Clemson has held teams down like the 56 points, 64 points. And I know Arizona was 72 points, but that's besides the point. And I think Clemson head coach, by the way, regardless of this result, he's definitely saved his job. He was getting on the hot seat a little bit, but I think he's fine now. I mean, I'm just telling the truth. He made it this far, and I know he got whooped in the ACC tournament. So, and you want to try to keep the opponent below 40% from the field, obviously, and don't give him any clean looks, especially underneath in the basket. And if it's late game situations, you gotta know when not to foul. Because you don't want to foul when you're up two possessions. You don't want to get them down to one. Just play good straight up defense and don't foul, period. And if you have a foul to give, and you're only up by one possession, make sure you foul before the shot even gets up. As in you have five team fouls and a half, then just get the 6. I mean, then from there, you got to be wise about your timeouts, and you don't want to obviously get a technical foul for calling all your timeouts and then trying to call another timeout when you can't. So, and it's going to be interesting no matter what happens here because I know for when you look at the history of both these programs, and I'm going to pull it up here real fast, and I apologize. And that's the last thing I'm going to say on this game because I already pretty much covered my basis. And you just don't want to obviously have a letdown game, whoever it is, and play you had your best game of the season last game and then stink one up. You don't want to have that happen. I'm just telling the truth. Okay, for Clemson, they have not been, and the head coach, by the way, is Brad Barnell. So, yeah, I'm just making a note there. And that's the first Elite Eight that Clemson's ever had since 1980. I mean, this is the first time with the expanded 68 teams. And they've never been to a Final Four before. Never have. When you look at the history. Now, Alabama, they haven't been to the Final Four either. believe it or not. And this is their first Elite Eight game in 20 years. Yeah, 2004. So this is going to be a historic finish on whoever wins this game, because you're going to go to the Final Four for the first time, and that will be a major accomplishment for your program, and it will help your recruiting no matter what. And regardless of what happens in this game, it should help your recruiting anyway. I mean, you made it this far for the first time since 1980 for Clemson, and the first time for Alabama in 20 years. So anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe button. I'll see you guys later. On the road to 600 subscribers, of course, ultimate goal. It's 1,000 more. So my money out there, of course, liking the video, comment the video, really helps YouTube algorithms so more people can see it. Sharing the video does help as well, so more people can watch. And if you're watching and subscribe, hit the subscribe button. It's free to hit the notification bell as well. And I apologize if it's this long of a video here. I just want to go into detail on like numbers and stuff for both of these teams and explain why this game is more intriguing. And as you can tell, whoever wins this game is going to go to a Final Four for the first time in program history. And besides going over keys for the game for both of these teams in general.